Imagine if when you wanted to send out a transmittal or package of documents, it was easy. A relative cover letter was at your fingertips, ready to use. Its contents and document information were automatically populated, and you always had easy access to the type of information we just mentioned in our example. So what was sent? In this case, what version or revision of your documents, by who, to whom, and when. So let's take a look at some real customer examples followed by a live Adept demonstration. So our first company is Taggart Global Forge Group. Taggart is an international EPC company. It's engineering, procurement, and construction, with expertise in turnkey design, supply, construction, and commissioning of coal preparation plants and material handling systems. So Taggart's challenge was the tedious process of sending out transmittals. At their peak, the company was sending out 15 to 20 transmittals per day. In total, it required 4 full-time people. And because it was so manual, it was also error-prone, and they had no audit trail to fall back on when they needed to verify what was sent. So picture this as your existing way of distributing transmittals. First, you must manually determine all the correct drawing numbers and that you have the correct revisions of every document, complete with a cover sheet of information. Then all drawing information must be manually recorded in a log, such as a spreadsheet. So your drawing numbers, your titles, your descriptions, everything that's important to you must be logged. Next, you may need to print out the documents and bind them. And then, unfortunately, you ship them to the recipient and just hope no unexpected problems occur with the delivery and everything arrives in one piece. And finally, you wait to hear whether they were approved, or maybe they are already out of date, or there was an error. And in that case, unfortunately, this process begins all over again. Re-verify, shipping, make sure you're tracking everything. So, that's the current process. Now, we realize you may not need to print everything and ship everything in hard copies. You may have a similar process, but instead, you may feverishly search in folders and directories and zip up your documents. Then cross-check to verify that it contains all the right information, drawings. Next, you may email the documents, or you may even upload them to an FTP site, or even use something like Dropbox. From any angle, this is a very tedious process for anyone to really manage and track. There's a lot of information here that has to be dealt with for any scenario and for any of these processes. When all the factors were tallied together, this process, according to Taggart, amounted to over $400,000 a year on just generating transmittals. So you can see why this was a challenge that they really needed and wanted to solve. So let's take a look at the new process using Adept, and then we'll show you this in the live Adept software. So picture this as your new solution. It's a simple process that does the work for you and tracks all the process. Tracks all the information throughout that process. So the new process is you simply create a transmittal cover letter based on the PDF template of your choice. Then simply select the files you want to include using your favorite search or browse method, just a few clicks. And then finally, Adept automatically populates the transmittal cover letter with document information, packages the files, and sends the transmittal. And as you'll see in our live demonstration, you have choices on how to deliver those documents. So let's now transition over to our live demonstration to show you how this new process may work. So this is the Adept desktop client. If you haven't used it before, it's just some ground rules here, terminology of what you're going to be looking at. I'm searching and browsing for my documents to the left. The one concept I do want you to know is what we call a work area. I'm going to mention that a couple times. Work area, think of that as your personal working folder. When you sign out a document from the vault that you're going to work on, or you copy out a document, you can place that in a work area. And again, it's just a folder on your local PC or maybe a shared drive somewhere. And you can have one or more work areas. When you're done with your work, then you sign that back into the vault and commit that change. So that's what a work area is. In general, the desktop client, you can do everything from find, view, print, and redline to take part in the workflow and approval processes. But today, we're going to focus on transmittals, or creating packages of documents. And I like to call it packages of documents because our customers use it in so many different ways, internally and externally. So if you hear me use the word transmittal or package, I kind of interchange those a lot. So to create a new transmittal, you choose from existing cover letters or templates. And, you know, we have one for our project today, CM200. That's one we'll be using. But you can see, you may have cover letters for your different projects, you know, different customers. You may have cover letters for the different type of engineering you're doing, architectural, manufacturing. Even if you're creating work orders, that may be a different cover letter or template on that package of documents. Today we're going to use our project CM200 cover letter. We'll now give it a name. And Adept also has an auto name feature. So for this document type, I've created this standard where all transmittals start with a TR and a dash. My users can select from the drop-down list of maybe projects or customer names, whatever you see fit. That fills in the middle, and then Adept appends the next available number in the system for that document type. And it's going to create a PDF from that cover letter design that you've created, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Now notice it put that new PDF of that cover letter template in my work area. So let's take a quick peek at that cover letter before we start filling it out with Adept. And this is what it looks like. And as I mentioned, you design your own cover letters. Adept comes with a designer. It's a drag and drop process. You can put logos. You control your font sizes, colors, you know, lines, whatever you want to do. And this is just the example that I have today. I have things about our project. I have some dates and return by dates. Why are we sending this with some checkboxes and a remarks or notes section. And then notice we also can decide, based on each template or cover letter, what fields of information we're going to list about the documents in this package. So at this point, let's start filling out and sending this transmittal. To populate transmittal, I right-click and I can say edit that transmittal. Now, based on the template or cover letter you chose, Adept knows the information that's contained in it and that you need to fill out. So this is what this wizard or dialog helps you do. So for example, I'm going to pick to send this to my drill clip company. My primary contact will be Kelly, and maybe a distribution list or CC list of all the project managers. So that's who's receiving it. You can see the address, everything was already filled out for me. Again, based on my cover letter or template, what do I need to fill out this? What do I need to fill this template out? Well, you saw my remarks section, right? So I might type in, please return by due date to maintain our schedule. Something like that. So you can see this is just an ad hoc notes field that we have. Here's my return by date. We'll say this is due the end of February. And yes, this contains drawings and it's for your approval. That correlates to our checkboxes in our template. Next, I have information about my jobs or products. Just say projects, right? Jobs or projects. So you may have one or more jobs or projects that you send transmittals to very frequently, maybe different customers. So you can make these entries into this list and define what fields of information should be filled out for each of those. So I just have 2 fields for this job, but you may have 5, 6, 10 fields. So all you do is pick that job or project, and it fills in that information for you. So here's the key part. Already, Adept has populated your cover letter. So here's all the information that we just chose in that wizard. My address is filled out for me, my contacts, my product information from that drop-down, all my return by dates and creation date, checkboxes, and my remarks. Now notice we still have to add the documents we're going to include in this package. So let's do that next. I go back to my same menu, and we're going to create our attachments for this package. So now I can use any of the search and browse techniques to start adding documents. And if I needed to, let's say I have SOLIDWORKS assemblies. I can choose the assembly, and if I say include all children, all the sub-assemblies and parts will automatically be taken in as part of that package. Same goes for AutoCAD, right? All the X references. Any children of the file you're selecting will be automatically included. Today I'm just going to select specific documents. So I'm going to select a few SOLIDWORKS documents, maybe this assembly and a couple parts that they need to see. I can search and browse. Maybe I have an image that I want to include taken from the field or the shop. Maybe a walkthrough in a PDF format. We have some Word and Excel documents, so let me pick the ECO. Maybe that's the reason why we're repackaging and sending these documents, so it's a change order. And I have some AutoCAD drawings here I'll also include. And here's the key part. Just by selecting those drawings and documents, we'll take another quick peek at that cover letter, it's filled that information out for us. So just like that, we've selected our documents, created our package of information, and now we're going to prepare to send that to our recipients. So to send this out, all I do is sign it into Adept, because I want it in the vault first. So I'm going to sign this in. Now we have a library where we keep all of our transmittals for this project. So I can sign this transmittal into whatever library I have access to. So I'm going to sign it into that transmittal library for our project. Now I realize, you may have a reason that you want these transmittals really to pass through a few more sets of eyes before they're sent out, kind of verify and approve. Adept has a built-in workflow capability and approval process that you can use. We're not going to get into that today. But if that were the case, this was going to need approval. When I go to send this out, that would be grayed out until it was approved. So you do have that flexibility as well. I did not do that today, so I can send it out immediately. And these are our send options. So at the top, you notice it already knows who we're sending it to and our distribution list based on our selections. I can give it a subject for the email, CM200 project. And now here are some of our basic options in sending out transmittals. Number one, I could just send the transmittal only, so just that PDF of our cover letter. So this might be the case where they're going to download it from an FTP site, Dropbox, Buzzsaw, any of those kind of sharing techniques that you might be using today. You may also just include links to the documents. And by that I mean if they're an Adept user, the email that we send out will just have a link in it. When they click on that link, it will bring them back into Adept and list all the documents for that package. So that means you don't have to attach it to an email and have them floating around and take up space and bandwidth, sending things all around and different versions around. So that's one benefit. I'm going to skip URLing for now. That will be the second part of our demonstration. I want to show you specific examples of that using our web client. So let's talk about all documents, attach them all to the email, or maybe I want to zip them up in a zip file and attach that to the email and even convert them to PDF ahead of time. So you can do all of that before you send it off. So this is our basic case. I'm going to attach all the documents as a zip file to an email. So depending on the web client, the mail client that you're using, it will attach that zip file with the right information, and now you can personalize that and send it on its way. Here is a very key factor. I just sent out that transmittal to our client, our customer, our product manager, whoever it might be. A week from now, 3 months from now, a year from now, I want to verify or see what was sent to that recipient. You can see that Adept has created relationships between the transmittal cover letter and all the documents in that package. If I look at the Children's tab in what we call our relationship browser, these are the exact versions and revisions of every document sent. So this gives you the information you need today and moving forward to always know what went out the door. In addition to that, Adept has an audit trail. The audit trail tracks information on every document in your system. So for transmittals, the information it tracks is who created that transmittal and when. What did they initially attach to that transmittal, and who did they send it to? So you have all the statistics about what went on with that transmittal. Now, another part two of sending that out was maybe they're going to use an FTP site or a Dropbox, right? And you can see I have a work area that maps to a Dropbox location. And you may have different Dropboxes for different customers. In that situation, you may just send that PDF, that first option that I showed you. So you wouldn't attach the documents. You would just send out the PDF. And it would still show in here the exact version that was sent or included in that PDF. But now what I would do is I would just copy these out to my Dropbox. So let me grab these versions. Let me copy those out for the customer to pick up into this Dropbox work area. And now what Adept will do is copy those out. What you'll see is I'll look at my Dropbox work area, and it knows that you copied them out and that they're duplicates. You didn't sign them out. It doesn't say signed out in red that I'm working on it. You copied them out. So think about that from the customer point of view or internally. They get the email with the PDF. They go to the Dropbox, and maybe they're going to update a few of these documents. And when they're done, they say, okay, I uploaded my new documents to Dropbox. You can then come in using Adept's features, compare and review these documents, and if you approve, then sign them back into the system. You can assume this ownership and sign it right back in. So that's a way that you can communicate both internally and externally with customers, kind of get documents out of the system to them and sign them back in when you're ready and you still have complete control of those documents. So that's part one of our demonstration. At this point, what I want to do is transition back to just a couple more real-life examples from our customers, and then we'll come back to part two of our live demonstration. So the second part of our customer challenge involves a company called Ruhr Pumps. And Ruhr Pumps is a global centrifugal pump technology company that offers a wide range of engineered-to-order products, everything from oil and gas, chemical, power, industrial applications, and the water and mining industries. But as Ruhr Pumps expands and increases their product offerings, they're finding that customers are demanding more and faster documentation for their products. So their problem was the timing and efficiency of delivering and sharing documentation. Before Adept, they had information and documents in 3 different systems. They had one system for their CAD files, one system for just their transmittals, and yet another system to record when something came in and when something went out. So when a customer required a transmittal that listed all the documentation from start to completion of a project, it was created by hand, as you can see, and all 3 systems had to be used. As you can imagine, collaboration and getting everyone working on the latest revision in a single system, no matter their design or manufacturing center, was key. In addition to the cost of how long it took to create and track the transmittals, they had another problem that affected their bottom line and affected their customers. The time it took to get the information and documents together significantly delayed delivery to the customers. So as a result, they couldn't invoice their deliverables. They could not get paid until they could get this information together and out the door. So now, using Adept, Ruhr Pumps has come to realize a single system and process that takes merely minutes to produce the same information they struggled with in the past. This goes back to the first part of our live demonstration. You just saw that same process. They're just using that same packaging feature to solve a different problem. But probably the most important aspect, Adept has helped Ruhr Pumps deepen their relationships with key customers by streamlining their communications and their document processes. So the last customer challenge I want to share with you before our second part of our live demo is that of Cabot Corporation. Because Cabot Corporation, they're a chemical company, and their main product is carbon black. Carbon black is used in everything from tires, paints, and printer ink to plastics. And this requires high-grade steel furnaces that see temperatures well over 3,000 degrees. So that's important because all these furnaces are designed and built in Cabot's research and development facility and shipped all over the world. So they were having problems with parts created using the wrong drawing revision that resulted in costly remachining. So this causes delays in their production, and incorrect documents and information also caused delays when they were assembling their products. So using Adept and its transmittal capabilities, as we showed you earlier, Cabot corrected these communication breakdowns, both internally and externally. So as Cabot now explains, they know everyone has the right document and the right rev to the right product. So everyone's now on the same page. But I want to point out that last item, delivering documents to vendors. This really leads us to the second part of our demonstration, Adept's web client. Using Adept's transmittal capability will be key, really, to fine-tuning Cabot's processes. This is something they were very, very big on. With electronic transmittals, Cabot now has the ability to give their vendors web access to view the latest version of any documents. So, and to them, this is just huge. So in the second part of our live demo, I want to share the Adept web client, how you may use that now in the transmittal or packaging ideas that we shared earlier. So here we are back in the Adept desktop client. And I'm going to show you how to send out a transmittal one more time. So when I want to send out this transmittal, I want to point out now that URL option. So I'm going to go back and send this out. And at this point, I'm going to pick just send the URL link. And I want to give it a subject line here, my CM200 project. Now when I send this, instead of the documents being attached and having, to download those right now, what she'll get is just a link to the document. So she'll be notified that she's receiving, she'll get this email notifying her with this link. And now, when Kelly receives this email, what she'll do is she will click on this link. That will bring up her default web browser. And if she's not already logged in, it will ask her to log in to view these files. So we're going to log in as Kelly today. And when Kelly logs in, that link is going to take her in her browser right to the document that we just sent her. So now she's brought right to that transmittal. Now what can she do from here? Well, the web client has a lot of features. We're really going to touch the surface today. But the first one I want to show you is she can view this PDF right from her browser. Integrated into Adept is a viewer that handles hundreds of different file types. PDFs, as you'll see here, images, Word documents, Excel, Visio, and your CAD applications. So 2D and 3D CAD, such as AutoCAD, SolidWorks, Inventor. But no native application is needed to view those native file types. This viewer handles and reads them all without any other applications. Again, right from your browser. So that's pretty important for remote users and sharing information and collaborating. So Kelly's now in her browser looking at this transmittal and seeing what's included. Why did you send this? What is included in this transmittal? So let's say, Kelly's waiting on this to maybe start a project or start production of this product. She's waiting for these designs. And let's say she's happy and she wants to now download all of these documents. To do that, all she has to do is say, this is the transmittal I want to download. She clicks the download button. And now she can say, I want the PDF and all children of that PDF, meaning the entire package or entire transmittal. She clicks OK. Adept bundles that in a zip file, and she saves that to her hard drive. So she's just downloaded that. Now remember the audit trail that I talked about earlier, where you can see all the activity on your documents. That's the same from the web client. So when your users or remote users log in and they view these documents and they download them, you're going to have an audit trail for that document showing you what they've done. So you can go in there and say, okay, I see Kelly viewed it and I see she downloaded it. So that audit trail is really important in collaboration and really knowing what's going on with your documents. Let's think another scenario from Kelly's point of view. Let's say Kelly has a few transmittals that she wants to review for this project. She's gotten a few emails. That's one of her main responsibilities. She's kind of backlogged a little bit, and she wants to search for all transmittals for this project. She can use a search card, and you can determine and create different search cards for different users. Now I can choose a search card, or you may assign one to Kelly. So maybe this is Kelly's vendor search card. This is all she can access. Keep it simple for her because this is what she would search on and find documents. So maybe she's going to search for everything that starts with TR-CM200, all of her transmittals for that project. She can use that search card, use any of that metadata to search for her document, and now she's found all the documents and all the transmittals that met that search criteria. Again, she can view it, she can download it, whatever she needs to do. Another way, if Kelly is kind of a user of the client and needs to view the drawings themselves, maybe she's involved with that. She reviews drawings and looks at SolidWorks parts and everything as far as a review process for you. She can browse and find everything for just her project. Notice using the file guide view just in the library browser, she can only see her project files. So if you give her the right, she can view all the documents for this project. She can view all these SolidWorks, AutoCAD, MicroStation, and all the other documents right in that same viewer in her browser. Or maybe she goes right into that transmittal folder. The important part is she just has access to what she's allowed to see. If she needs to review documents, maybe you even integrated her into your review process. She can actually take part in your workflows and approve and reject documents right from her browser as well. So again, there's a lot of features here in this web client that we're not touching on today, but I want to give you an idea of how you really can collaborate with your users via the web and how easy it is to exchange information. So that's really the bulk of the live demonstration for our web client today. What I want to do is just kind of quickly review what we covered today before we open it up and answer some of those questions. So initially, we stated the top 5 challenges that we see based on our customer experiences. Through customer examples in our live demonstration, what we really wanted to do today is show you some of the challenges our customers faced and how Adept helped them solve those challenges. And we hope we found that valuable today. As a result, we feel our customers have been able to improve and streamline their processes and also realize significant cost reduction and savings and improved communication. Maybe most importantly, satisfaction internally and externally with customers and the vendors.